You are tuned in to another edition of Americana Music Profiles, brought to you by Americana Rhythm Music Magazine and AmericanaMusicMagazine.com. I'm your host, Greg Tutwiler. Let's jump right in to the next exciting interview. Alan Bibey has been entertaining audiences professionally with his mandolin chops since the early 1980s. He was an original member of the early pioneering groups like the New Quicksilver, Third Time Out, and Blue Ridge. He started the band Grasstowne with friends Steve Gully and Phil Ledbetter, and has been fronting that band for the past 8 years. Alan is my guest on this edition of Americana Music Profiles. Hi, Alan. Welcome to the podcast this afternoon.
Hey, buddy. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, give me a little bit of a background. You've been at this for a while, this bluegrass thing, right?
Yeah, just a bit. I grew up around it. You know, my dad played, and he played just regionally and around home back where I grew up in North Carolina. They had a lot of. Back then, there was almost every weekend there was what they called fielders conventions.
Uh-huh.
There were contests that judged bands and your individual instrument out of those bands. Usually got 2 or 3 songs, and they had those every weekend. So I'm sure I was going to those when I was in the womb. I'm sure, and I continued to, and then I started playing at 5, and
wow.
Then still playing regionally, and I played with some bands that started getting out a little bit when I was 12 or 13. We recorded an album or 2, and then I started playing. I was a big Boone Creek fan, and when they broke up, Wes moved back down around Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I started playing with him when I was 16, I guess. Okay. And then while I was playing with him, we started playing out a little bit further too. We played in Roanoke, Virginia. He obviously already knew Terry Balcom and Jimmy Haley and all those guys. And
yeah.
I'm from the same county as Jimmy Haley, and so they came out and seen us. And at the end of the show, they come over and talked to me and said, "Look like, you know, they were going to part ways with Doyle Lawson." So they asked me would I be interested in the job, and I was like, I was like 18 years old
Sure.
or something at the time, and I was like, well, yeah, maybe. So I got together with them, and that's how I really started my first really getting out, all over the country and all over the world really kind of gig. That was 85. I started playing with those guys. It was the New Quicksilver.
Okay.
And,
okay.
That lasted 2 or 3 years. We recorded an album together, and then, ironically, the guys that met with Doyle were Russell Moore and some of those guys, and that played in the band Southern Connection. And a couple years later, after New Quicksilver broke up, those guys called me and said they were going to leave Doyle and wanted to know if I'd be interested in starting a band with them. So I did with Russell. We started the band Third Time Out together in 1990, and I was there about 4 years. So, and then recorded and moved to South Carolina from North Carolina and played in a variety show. It was kind of Branson type shows for a couple of years. I was kind of the utility guy down here, and then I got back into. We actually got the New Quicksilver band back together, but under the name Blue Ridge.
Okay, right.
And that's how that band started, and it morphed into me and Junior Sisk and some other guys. And then about 11 or 12 years ago, I started Grasstowne with Steve Gully and Phil Ledbetter, and it's morphed into Alan Bibey and Grasstowne into what it is today. So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've been at it a while.
Has it pretty much been a full-time thing for you in some capacity, one way or the other, in music?
Yeah, ever since I was there was just in between, other than maybe a year or so right in between New Quicksilver and Third Time Out, I was doing a few other things, but other than that, it's been only music since I was just, forever.
Do you write songs as well?
Yeah, I write quite a bit. On our last Bluegrass album, I guess I wrote probably a little over half on the Grasstowne 4, and I also, growing up in music, I was in North Carolina where I was at. I was dating a young lady when I was 16, and she said her brother-in-law played gospel music and stuff, and and she told him I played mandolin. So he come in one day, and it was Ronnie Bowman.
Oh, really? Okay.
And, yeah, he never played bluegrass or really heard much bluegrass. So I got him into bluegrass. I got him in started. He tells me all the time I got him into this mess. And so we got to be big buddies, and so we. He's a great writer, as you know. So
sure, yeah.
A lot of times I'll take a lot of ideas I got or something I got close to finished writing or something. I'll take up and hang out with him a couple of days, and we'll finish a few things. So that's what we did on this last album. He helped me co-write.
Okay.
Probably 5 or 6 tunes. So I try to write as much as I can.
How have you seen, kind of being there from the 80s forward, how have you seen the music and the music scene change?
Well, it's there's definitely been a lot of changes, and gosh, it's good to see so many people. You know, there's a lot of people. There's just I know there's a ton more bands now than there used to be.
Yeah, there is.
I don't know
for sure.
Back then, you know, anybody that I heard come on the radio, me and my dad were always listening. There wasn't but just so much bluegrass you could hear on the radio back then. You know, especially in North Carolina, we had one. I think on Saturday night you had an hour or 2 hours, and then there was a show in King that was on Saturday during the day. So usually I was helping him wash a car, and we'd listen to an hour or two during the day. And you automatically knew everybody that come on the radio because you knew all the bands so well.
Yeah.
You know, but now there's so many bands that I don't recognize them as much anymore. Some other people might recognize them more, but I think it's a good thing in a way, but it just changed the whole scope of things as far as bookings and everything else.
Sure.
It's just a different world than it used to be. But everything evolves one way or the other and changes. That's one thing you know is going to happen. Things are going to change.
Do you think it's made it easier for the younger bands to get involved, or is there more competition for the limited number of playing dates?
Maybe both. I know there's definitely more competition for the playing dates, and I don't know. It's just, but I think maybe it is easier for kids to get involved too. Because I mean, looking back on it, I don't know. You know that. Even though I think I was a pretty good player back then, that's all I did was play. I played 8 or 10 hours a day back when I was a teenager, you know. And, it probably would have been hard to get the name that I got even back then, unless I'd have got, would have gotten with the band that I did, the New Quicksilver, which was, them and Dole were the hottest band going back then.
Sure, yeah.
Still one of the top bands, but so it may be a little harder for the, to break. I think it's definitely hard to break through your own style now as much as because there's so many people playing.
Right. Yeah, I think that's.
So I can see where that's in a way. I'm glad I came along when I did.
Yeah.
I seen a T-shirt the other day. Somebody said, "Yeah, I'm old, but I got to see all the cool bands."
That's true. That's true.
I
Yeah.
thought, that is cool. I got to hang out with Bill Monroe a lot, so that's one good thing about being older.
I would think, and this probably crosses all genres of music, but it's harder to find young pioneers. It seems like whether it's bluegrass or rock or country or some other style of music, a lot of the pioneering happened in the 70s and 80s and maybe the early 90s, but there's not a lot of pioneering left in some of the traditional styles of music. It doesn't feel like.
I feel the same way, kind of. Yeah. I see exactly what you're saying. I don't feel it like you hear something just striking you that totally new. That's
right.
Really,
yeah.
I know what you mean.
I think I read in the notes somewhere where you actually Gibson created a signature style mandolin. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did, and it was actually in 2004. They approached me about doing a Alan Bibey signature series, and they did that on a few different artists. It was I think it was Ricky Skaggs and Doyle Lawson and Sam Bush and Adam Steffi and Wayne Benson and me were the only ones that they did the artist models on, and that was really cool for me because growing up back when I did, Gibson was like the name.
Sure, yeah.
Back then especially, there's a lot of great luthiers now, but back then my grandpa and my dad, they thought if it was Gibson, that was it. So
right.
To me, that was pretty cool to get that kind of thing happen to me.
Yeah. That's cool. And of course it's you've been recognized throughout the years for your contribution and playing style. And is that when you started 13, 14, 15, 16, and that, did you have any sort of idea or designs or thoughts that you'd be able to be where you are today and still playing mandolin full time?
Man, that's a great question. I know, when I first started playing, I was lucky. I had my dad that played mandolin, and then he had taught my cousin, who was about 4 or 5 years older than me, to play. And there was no instruction really back then, but
right.
My cousin he's kind of like me. I'm a little bit probably OCD and a little bit of a perfectionist kind of thing too. So, we did a lot of stuff together, and he really helped me with some technique stuff because he was out playing kind of, regionally with a band called Boot Hill that wrote, the lady in Boot Hill was Louisa Branscombe, who wrote Steel Rails that Allison did.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So they were the first ones to cut that. And my cousin Gary was a great mandolin player, especially from back in that day, in that time. And so he helped me a lot with technique. And I told him, we still talk regularly. And I told him the other day, I remember him telling me one time that when I must have been really young, maybe 8, and we went to see Marty Stewart was playing with Lester Flatt, and all 3 of us were sitting around playing mandolins, and I was like 8, And
uh-huh.
remember we left that night, and Gary said, he said, I want to be the best mandolin player in the world. And I told him, I said, I remember just like a couple of years after that thinking the exact same thing.
Uh-huh.
I thought, no, I'm going to be,
yeah.
I want to be the best mandolin player in the world. So I always had that thought of it, but I don't think I ever related it to playing it for a living or anything at that point.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be, I just had that drive to want to be the best, but and that's all relative, of course. But
sure, but
it was a drive that I had, and obviously a love for it. So it's about all I know how to do, I think, at this point.
Can you recall at any point in more recent years where maybe you thought or connected that thought that I'm gonna be the best in the world to, what, I'm getting pretty close there? Was there ever this revelation of I did it kind of thing?
I think so. Just I'm totally trying not to stay away from the ego kind of thing. But
sure.
Back when I was starting to playing those Fiddlers conventions back in the day, there was a guy named Rick Allred that was a great mandolin player, and he went on to play with the Country Gentlemen right after Dole, ironically.
Uh-huh.
And he was just tearing up all the contests. I mean, he was a kind of jazzy, kind of really kind of swingy, kind of bluegrass player, and I was very attracted to that style. And I always really looked up to him. And then I remember after I went the third time out and started playing, I'd been there a couple of years, and we were getting some recognition and everything. And I saw a guy that played with this guy Kent Dowell that also played with Rick and the Country Gentleman, the banjo player. And he said he got to talking about playing. And he said, man, Rick says you're the best.
Wow, that's cool.
And I thought when he said that, I thought, man, how cool is that? Because I thought he was the best for so long. For him to say that means more, somebody like that to say that.
Yeah.
Meant more to me than a lot of different things. So that's some cool moments like that.
Yeah, that's cool. And you have a recording studio now, right, in South Carolina?
I do. Yeah, I sure do. Right behind my house here, and I do a lot of our recording, or most of our recording, really here. And I record on a lot of people's other projects and stuff. So it's nice to have something close to the house after having to travel, because I've been doing that for a long time, like you say, and so I just have to travel all over the place just to play on a project, and now I can just go to the back house here. So,
are you actually working with recording, doing sessions for other bands, for other folks in the industry also, or is this mainly for you and your band?
No, I've been doing it for other folks and other projects probably for about the last 20 years, probably.
Right. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
New album is Grasstowne 4. Is that right?
That's our latest bluegrass album, but we're almost finished with a all gospel album now.
Oh, good. Okay. And that'll
And
be out about when?
It should be out hopefully in December, and our first single's already been released, and we're really excited about it. We've it's been number